Now, we'd like to thank today's sponsor, DML, Sealing and Louvers, for their support of this event. And we'd like to invite our sponsor representative, Mr. Kyo Chong, which is the General Manager, to have their introduction of the product. Please welcome Mr. Kyo.
Good evening, everyone. So my name is Kyo. So I'm representing DML Aru today. So should we start? Okay. So maybe most of you know. Do you all know who is DML or not? Most of you maybe is not already know. So maybe, but today I will slightly to introduce which is our new products. Means aluminum cladding and aluminum beacon and aluminum flat light panels. So maybe I will slightly to go through what product that we're providing. So actually our core product is aluminum composite, aluminum strip sealing, metal sealing, and our aluminum lowers. So this is what we did the projects. So this is sun lowers. Okay, this is ventilation lowers and open ceilings, and also square tile ceiling and perforation ceiling. Okay, and also the performance lowers and some of the custom-made products that we also can providing. So today we will focus on the aluminum claddings. Okay. So what aluminum composite panel can apply at is a facade and also interior. So exterior we can apply at facade of buildings, hospital and university, shop, malls, hotels, canopy and awnings, and also the signage and shop fronts. So for interior uses, we can apply at exhibition hall, office interior design, and wall covering, and also the ceiling and cabinet, modular kitchens, and also the wardrobe, the board. Okay. So the next step is, okay, maybe most of you already know what is the aluminum composite panel, but maybe some of the, in fact, inside of the, have what material that we providing. So one, the top layers is protective film. Okay, then after that, we will have the primer, the coating, which is PVDF and the clear coat. So we have two type of the coatings. So one is the two coat, so one is three coat. Three coat, which is the most like the color, like red color, yellow color, because that color is quite sharp. So we will providing one micron, 10 micron for the clear coats. So what we're providing is the aluminum is using the 3000 series. So and then the next is adhesive film. So we do have three type of the core, which is polyethylene, B1 fire retardant core, and one is A2 imbustible core. So the bottom coil, which is we are using, bottom layer we are using adhesive film and aluminum skin as well. So this is our spec. Okay, so we have three type of the aluminum composite panel. So okay, so this is what we show on the material for burning. So this one we are using the fire gun. So we are shooting in one point. So the heat itself will burn around 1,500 temperature. So as you can see, this one is the PE, the polyethylene, the plastic one. So this one we call it normal panel. So as you can see, around 20 seconds is already burnt. So what we normally using is using this one, the FR core. But this one is our experiment. So this one is the one most hardest to get burned. Then this one is the air-to panel, and then this one is the solid panel, 3mm solid panel. So what you can see, two differences. This one have the dust. This one have the dust, but this one don't have the dust. So move forward a bit. Sorry. Yeah. So you see around 1 minute above already, but the point already get burned. But this one is the air-to panel, so it still haven't get burned. Okay. So next. Okay. So the next one, which is aluminum flat light and beacon. Okay. So the beacon layers, which is the same, so it's using the 3000 series aluminum skin, and then we are using a adhesive film, and also the aluminum core, honeycomb core, and also the adhesive film, and the bottom core is aluminum skin as well, 3000 series skin as well. So the application is for honeycomb can use for facade building, truck body, substrate to stone, doors, wall cladding, ceiling, and also the kitchen cabinets, and also the cruise interior to reduce the weight. So this is the specification. So we have a few types of the thickness for the aluminum honeycomb. So okay, this is the spec itself. So this one is our another new product, which is flat light. So okay, this one, the top layers we are using the protective film. Similar is using, you can use the PVDF coating or you can use the PE coating as well. It's something similar with the aluminum composite panel, but this product is fully aluminum. Okay. So the application is can be wall cladding, can be ceiling, and also the normal cladding. Okay, this one is the specifications. So this one, the root weight we can root at least, because this one is the PE endorsement, so we have the root weight for 150. Okay. So okay, this one is the case study happened that in Malaysia, in KWSP.
Kita menggerakkan lebih kurang 70 orang anggota bomba dan pegawai untuk membuat kerja-kerja pemadaman kebakaran di bangunan ini. Sebenarnya untuk makluman semua, kebakaran ini bukannya kebakaran di dalam bangunan, bukan isi bangunan, tetapi adalah kebakaran cladding yang dipasang di luar bangunan. Dan berdasarkan kepada siasatan dan kajian di peringkat awalan, kita mendapati bangunan ini telah dipasang cladding yang mudah terbakar. Kemungkinan yang tidak diluluskan oleh mana-mana pihak telah dipasang ke bangunan ini. Dan difahamkan daripada siasatan awal juga, kebakaran ini juga bermula daripada tingkat 1 di mana kerja-kerja penyelenggaraan di luar bangunan dijalankan. Dan disebabkan keadaan cuaca yang agak panas, angin yang agak bertiup kuat, kemeribatan ini cepat dan mudah terbakar di bahagian cladding luar yang daripada mudah terbakar ini keseluruhan keliling bangunan berkenaan. Jadi berdasarkan semakan kita juga, tidak ada berlaku kebakaran di dalam isi bangunan kecuali pada tingkat 6 sedikit kebakaran yang melibatkan fail-fail yang difahamkan tidak penting bagi kumpulan wang simpanan pekerja ini.
Okay, so after the case happened, so
Sebab,
we have come out, the government have come out with the cladding system, which is BS Act 414 fire system. Okay, so what we do, what we provide is the independent assurance that you have external cladding system and components are tested in accordance, and also user confidence and trust in the safety and reliability of the buildings. And instant credibility due Serim renewable reputation for quality assurance and ease of access to international models due to the Serim CASA's global accreditation. So this one is our test for BS8414. So the 8414 is not just the cladding itself, it's the whole system, meaning the hollow section and also the rock wool itself. So the duration of the test is around 1 hour, but around 30 minutes they will try to shut down the fire. So if you want to get to know more, so you can contact our salesperson to get more. Okay, this is our Serim test report. Okay, so this is our certificate, and our team will have few branches can support on the whole Malaysia: Kuala Lumpur, Johor, Penang, Sarawak, and also Sabah as well. Okay, to support you all. So this is our clients. So, okay. So why choose DML? Because we have around 25 years above. Okay. So we can because we are manufacturing, so we can customize your length as well. Okay. So we provide 10 years warranty as well. We can deliver it within 7 days. If let's say we have the coil. Okay. So of course we have a good quality control system because we have ISO and Serim and Bomba certificate. Okay, so this is our new project, the latest project. So this one is Auxiliary Tower. Okay, so this one is the Capri by Fraser at Georgetown. So this one using the honeycomb, the beacon that we are using. Our new products, so you can see the surface is so flatness, yeah, because honeycomb itself is very lightweight. Okay, this one is the UOB tower, and this one is we using the beacon to doing our to try to explore the new things. So means like as you can see, this one is the cubicle. And this one is the jacket R-ship. So we apply on their walls. You can see the ceiling and the walls. This one. Because to reduce the weight. Okay. And also the anti-rusty. So this one is the latest project that we secure. So this one is the latest news. Is RTS, ICQC, yeah. So, and this one is the flat light panel. So we are using for the ceiling. So this one is data center campus. Okay, this also GDS campus data center. So this one is our grading. So this all is our field project that we did. For the aluminum composite panel. So this one is also the Cyberjaya data center. So we do have our guardrail as well. Okay. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kyo Chong, for the insightful information on DML. Without further delay, please welcome Architect Sarosh Pradhan, our speaker of the day. Okay, we are very privileged to have our first ever Nepalese architect speaking at any PAM event here. Architect Sarosh Pradhan is an artist architect who believes in holistic living. He was awarded the JK Foundation's Young Architect of the Year in Bangalore 2004 and the winner of the Society of Nepalese Architect SONA Excellence Award in 2023 for his Tenzing Norgay Sherpa Heritage Center. He has won several national design competitions such as Tewa, Sainbu Community Center, and the memorial in the United States Embassy in Nepal, and has worked on notable projects such as Dwaruska's Conservation and Restoration Project. Currently, his projects are underway, such as Braka Village in Manang Valley of Anandpura region, and several lodge and resorts in Khumbu Everest region. These are some of his few interesting and challenging approaches to build environmentally sustainable projects. He has recently added an inner dimension and interest for poetry, yoga, music, meditation, and trekking, along with the appreciation of rich cultural heritage and environment of the Himalayan region. Without further ado, please welcome Architect Sarosh Pradhan.
Namaste. I bring greetings from Nepal, from the mountains, and from my Society of Nepalese Architects, from people in the Himalayan region. And I think it's a big privilege for me to stand in front of you, the senior members of PAM, also here, and I really appreciate all of you coming and trying to listen to the Himalayan journey. So I've been practicing for almost 30 years. And in 30 years, I've seen a lot that has happened. Recently in Nepal, we had a big political upheaval. And fortunately, I feel it's going to the right direction. But what is so special about the Himalayan region is, of course, the mountains. And it's also the place where Buddha was born. And there is so much that where we can really take as a concept, as designers, as architects, and as preservers of this very sacred environment. So my journey of 30 years, I'll try to put together very graphically, as we're all architects. We understand images and pictures. And I will share my journey as an architect, as a young architect who was practicing in the city. But then I got introduced to a few projects up in the mountains, which kind of changed my perspective about design, about the way you live. And I suddenly had a lot of space and time to look at the vocabulary of design through a personal kind of inquisition. These are, small places that, initially I was not a mountaineering person, but, when you graduate, you get to work in the city in a very urban environment. And like all of us, I think the city demands so much. And when I got the privilege to work in places like this is the small Dingboche village, I started observing nature, the landscape in a very deep way. And these are very difficult, it may look beautiful in the images, but when you're there, you're out of breath, you can't sleep well, the kind of environment is very challenging, but you notice with the difficulty, the clouds, the mountains, the hills, you see how people live. So I started walking, and I think, instead of sitting in the office and just in front of the screen, if you have this luxury to walk and observe Mother Nature, lots of things go on in your mind. And the landscape was something very special I observed. And so I have 2 daughters. Share a little bit of my personal life before I really get into. So my 2 daughters, they kind of, were studying in India, and now they're in, one of them is in New York, and the other one is also far away from home. But when they came for a holiday, I was going for a climb up in this mountain called Island Peak, and my elder daughter wanted to come with me, and so she accompanied me. And going up, as we got higher up, she said that this was not my idea of a holiday. And you become breathless. There are, areas, there are big falls. You have to be very cautious. But then when you arrive at a certain level and you see a sunrise, and when your phone doesn't work, but you see each other, I think that's the level of kind of human connection as a family, as a person, that we could really enjoy what we are gifted with. And the question about identity is something which, the more I traveled around Nepal, I feel that it is so special. We're gifted, but for some, due to economic challenges and possibilities, they go to the Middle East, they go all over the world, and they leave Nepal. But I look at this as a precious inheritance. And the more I see it, I think it's a responsibility, not just as a citizen, but to look at this gift and how can we preserve it. Because when my health started changing as soon as I went up to the mountains, and my architecture vocabulary became very different. So the identity as a Nepali, to appreciate the landscape, to appreciate the culture that kind of emerges from, terrains like this, is something that, I feel that when you talk about the landscape in Nepal, it is about the context of nature. It's about the context of the culture. And right below in red is my project, but it's just a thin red line. And I think the nature of, in the urban area, you're trying to build higher, you're trying to build things that stand out. But as we get deeper into this place, no matter what you build, you just kind of dissolve. It's like the ocean. You dissolve in it. So your architecture kind of, should really blend with nature in some manner. This is a project that I will talk to you about. It's in the Annapurna region. It's called the Braka village. I have a long story, but I'll try to concisely share with you my learnings of it. And in my presentation, I would speak about nature, I would speak about identity, I would speak about the inner consciousness that as architects, as designers, when we immerse ourselves in this environment, how can we do something very simple, very genuine, with a certain care that you bring about without spoiling. Of course, as architects, we have to build, but how do we do it consciously and sensitively? So the context of Nepal, the landscape, the resources that we have, and culture and heritage that kind of echoes from all the environment, which is very sacred. And of course, as you walk deeper into the mountains, there is a certain spiritual quality. And it's always been a challenge to reflect these kind of feelings in the projects that kind of I undertake. So poetry was something that I try to concise it in terms of sketches, but in terms of words, and a certain vision for Nepal, especially now that we have a new government, which is very young. In fact, after the revolution that we had, among the 15 ministers, we have almost 12 who are at the age of between 30 to 39. There's one of, between 40 to 50. And I think the finance minister is the only one who's 52. So we have a Nepal which is now driven after the big Gen Z movement. We have very young people at the helm of kind of taking a certain vision forward. I would speak to you about 6-7 projects that I've immersed myself with. And as we go along, I'll share more details about it. But it's about landscape, art, architecture, health, yoga, and poetry. So I think the fact that initially after I started kind of walking, and this vocabulary that we are given with ABCD, when we are young people, we look at ABCD for A for apple, B for ball, and C for cat. But as you grow up and then you start kind of learning architecture, we do a vision test. So this is something I really share with young people. All of you are young. So for ABCD, I could say that it could mean awareness, it could mean building, it could mean community, it could mean design, it could be environment. And similarly, I think what I'd like to stress is things that we take for granted, like the vocabulary or things that we see. If you have that awareness or you search, you can kind of give a deeper meaning to the same things that you see. So when I started walking, there was a hill next to my house, and we all go to this stupa that existed there once a year. But then I was getting stressed staying in the city. And I decided to walk. Since I go up to the mountains, I decided to walk up. And, you start observing sunlight, these prayer flags. And I think yoga and awareness kind of streamed into my life. And observing the sun in the morning or having this space, writing few words. I'll punctuate it with 3-4 poetries in between the architecture and the graphics. So this was one that I'd initially written about filter your thoughts and actions. Do what is meaningful and worthy, a little of it every day, consistently with awareness and focus. So I think as architects, also we sometimes have the luxury to stare at empty piece of paper in front of you or empty piece of land. And I think the awareness that you try to kind of drive are your values. Are you just trying to kind of give a solution that is very quick, or are you trying to find deeper meanings as you grow? So this awareness started kind of, I started questioning it. And before architecture also, I said, let's take care of myself before, I even do work. So the yoga and meditation was definitely a search that I took in terms of freeing myself and also looking at my country. So I started doing all these challenging postures, which, I think in the beginning I thought it was impossible. But what I'd like to say is that just like you look at your design in the beginning, which is very impossible, but then you kind of have an understanding, you have a team of people that kind of guides you through, and these challenges suddenly become, a way of life. So I started looking at my body as the architecture or the structural system or the sanitation, and slowly all these kind of postures kind of had a deeper meaning for me, and in fact allowed me to kind of go into, these different terrains in Nepal. My background has been of art. Before architecture, I thought I'd be an artist. I studied in a place called Darjeeling in India. And it's, you see the third highest mountain, Kanchenjunga, from there every morning. And these are my school day sketches of my dogs, of, the Kanchenjunga in my school, and the hills around Kathmandu. And this was a painting that I'd done when I was in, I think, class 11. But why I'm sharing this with you is that as designers, no matter what you do, if you sing a song or if you sketch or if you paint, all these one fine day connects to the dots of your life. And for me to initially start being an artist, observing 2 children in this Nepali gateway, half naked, represented Nepal in a certain sense that, we have so much, but we don't value it, and we're almost kind of half naked with our thoughts. This was something I did when I was in school. I did my architecture schooling in New Delhi, and this was an eye within an eye. And I think when you look at something, you may see an eye, but the networks of your imagination, of your viewpoints, as it goes inside, there are many links that kind of, maybe you conceptualize it in your design further. This one was also in college, School of Architecture. I was trying to paint Ganesh, and Ganesh, in our custom, it is a god of success. So when I was sketching this, the story that I love to share is that I wanted to paint success, but in flames, which were not orange or red. I wanted to paint it in white. And I realized that in my paint box, I didn't have white. So I looked around and I saw my toothpaste. And the story is that I used toothpaste on this. And it still is there in my studio, which I tell young people that kind of recycling or relooking at materials is sometimes not so difficult as looking at what you have around. In terms of Nepal, just to give you a background of the skyline, like you have here the Petronas and you have all these high-rise, we are gifted with pagodas, with these temples, with World Heritage Site. In Kathmandu, there are 7 World Heritage Sites within a very small circumference of the valley. But then present is also about the chaotic, governance that we had, in which politics, democracy, wastage of materials, tourism disorganized, and the earthquake that happens every 70 years in our Nepal, in our region, has done a lot of devastation. And because of all this chaotic kind of political structure, a lot of people have been going out of the country, and we've been losing precious human resource to build it, and also, of course, confused architecture. But then we just recently had this huge movement where within a week, the ruling party or the political system collapsed, and we had a judge who took our country to a new elections. And we really have this new young energy that kind of perhaps understands Nepali from a very youthful look. And I see that if there is stability in a country which is next to, China and India of 1.6 and 1.2 billion, if we just get our act together, it's like 2 hot water glasses and you have this cold water in the middle. It's just a matter of time that we could warm up and we could kind of relate to what is happening beside it. And we have a lot of Chinese visitors and Indian visitors that come to Nepal. But we haven't got our infrastructure, we haven't got our kind of management of the country in order. So clean water, energy, Himalayan herbs. One day maybe the Winter Olympics happening in Nepal because of all the snow and high mountains. Good roads connected to China, women empowerment, wellness centers up in the Himalayas. And of course, architecture and spaces that inspire. So people in Nepal, for those of you who visited, we're a very relaxed nation. Nature's given us so much that we've become quite lazy as a population. We appreciate it and we forget that we need to also work and, give a certain order in our country. So there's traditions, culture, there's a lot of craft, and I would say culture is a product of our ancestors. When we walk around, we don't understand it, but there's beautiful craft, there's beautiful stonework and woodwork, and these pottery squares that exist. So the big question of identity was what I kind of questioned as a Nepali. Were we just aiming all the kind of cities that were, happening with this global growth that was happening in India and all over the world? But I find that this precious inheritance, we needed to have a certain responsibility towards it. And there is the tangible heritage and there is the intangible heritage. And, sorry, so there is this tangible heritage that, when you go and look at all the different festivals and see all the community kind of coming together. For example, this is a jatra, we call it, where they build this this structure made out of wood and all natural materials. But the fact that the community gets together and builds it and pulls this rath around it brings so much of energy into the space that you don't understand it, but there is a cosmic kind of energy that guides the people to come together to make this structure. So from the chaos of understanding your culture, suddenly there's a lot of energy that comes together, and it's almost it's like an ecstasy that you don't understand. So these chariots are pulled from different parts of the community and brought together, and they just celebrate life. They connect to design or beliefs which are very integrated with their understanding. So, with all the chaos, there are also these moments where you observe with the wind. It's almost like an eerie sound. It questions your existence. To look at the wind, there are, nature gives you these silent kind of reminders about life. So when people look at this, a lot of things go into their mind. And also when I witness all these experiences, it's a very surreal experience. I don't understand it, but it does something to me. It makes me look at things a little bit deeper. So the context of Nepal, China, India, a few colors of the places that I've kind of gone and worked on. And when you see these barren landscapes that are connected with certain culture, certain history, certain, simplicity, you start kind of, also looking at your life. You've accumulated so much, but when you're over there, you just dissolve in this kind of landscape. And the architecture is also struggling to kind of fuse itself with the mountains. The life is very difficult and challenging. And as you get higher, even though if you're not a spiritual, if you're a very worldly person, but when you go into this area, there is questions that start coming out, and spirituality just kind of embraces you. So you see a desert-like atmosphere, and then you see the mountains, and you see a space that kind of, connect together. And this image is a favorite of mine, where this monk is looking at this plateau and saying, these architects are going to mess it up. And I feel the more I go up in the mountains, the more less of an architect I feel. And you experience these tangible heritages, this kind of music and, colors, and you have all these beautiful lakes. Some of the highest lakes in the world are here in Nepal. And then you have these caves where monks came and meditated. And along the rivers that I've kind of, walked in, I've collected these shaligrams. These are fossils, which once upon a time, these places in the Himalayas were under the sea. And when the Tibetan Plateau and Indian Plateau movement happened, then the Yangfol Mountains, the Himalayas, were formed. So I've collected several of these pieces while walking on the river, and I feel that my country is a living museum. It's just that we don't understand it. So learn to find time with nature, who can be your best teacher. If you allow yourself to be a friend, your natural best will emerge. And I started writing this 3-4 lines, but for me it's really those moments where I felt very deeply connected. Talking about this project, this one is a favorite of mine. It's been almost 12 years. Like when you talk about doing projects in the urban city, they say 6 months and 1 year and 1.5 years. It's taken us 12 years and we're still kind of not finished. But the story about this project is that, in Nepal, we have these very remote areas where you don't have access of road. And, we had these villages, which are abandoned villages, but now it falls on the trekking trail when you go around in the Annapurna area. So the story of this place is that long time back, our late king, King Mahendra, he'd come and landed on this green patch on a helicopter and then saw this beautiful image. It's like a postcard. And then he met the people and he said that, my God, you live in such a beautiful place, but you have no education, you have no opportunity. So maybe I give you passport and I exempt you from duties. So the Manange people were given this privilege, and his well-meaning effect, these are abandoned villages now. People have gone to Hong Kong, people have combined with, various merchants, and they've become good traders. But then these villages lie abandoned. So I had this person who lives in Hong Kong, very well-to-do, a Nepali, and he was settled in Hong Kong, but born in this village. And he came and he wanted to build a new resort in this green patch. And then we went there, and I said, let's walk around, and he showed me this village. And in the walk, he said that I was born in this little house. And then it just struck me that maybe we should do his house first before even attempting to do the new hotel or resort. And he said, no, I don't want to do my house because it's connected with other houses that are falling apart, and I don't want just my house to be, up. And I said, no, why don't we take up maybe a few houses on the top, and why don't we rebuild that? And he was not willing, but he was kind of exploring. As architects, you give ideas. And then I floated one interesting concept to him. I said that if you take up, some of these houses that are abandoned, I will not charge you. But at the end, if the project, has a commercial kind of advantage later on, you can share your earnings from it. So he fell for it. He's getting an architect for no cost. And sometimes I think, you need to kind of have some tactics in terms of how you do it. So that's how the project started. I've not got paid for this, but it's a project for the heart. And these are questions as architects that come up. We're building it. But what I find amazing in this kind of, project is that, you see a cliff behind this settlement. And you have the Marsyangdi River, which flows from the lake that is up. And I was just wondering, why did they build in this place, which is so difficult, challenging? And there's a reason. Because the river goes up and down during the monsoons. And then the overflow of it goes to the land. And that becomes a very fertile land. So you have buckwheat, you have berries, you have, there's a whole life around the fertility. And and the cliff that you see behind the settlement acts like a wind barrier. And I think that was such a good lesson that in those days when they didn't build it out of urgency to live. They built it out of an understanding that this place is cold and the wind from that river or from up in the lake is very cold. So when you have a barrier like this, a settlement would be more viable in terms of heat. And these are sustainable answers. History has shown them. And when we were just about to build here, I said, let's take this kind of learning to a larger level. And then we did a study of the existing houses and we've rebuilt it in the same style. So presently we're going through the interiors, and hopefully this year, in a couple of months, this project would be ready. So this is the whole building. There is a 500-year-old monastery that is next to it. And this is going to be our entrance, all built out of stone and built out of local materials. So this is, sometimes as architects, we get an opportunity to do timeless things. And for me, more I go to the mountain, more I get connected to timeless way of kind of doing things. Not getting paid, which is not good, but trying to connect to an idea that I believe in. And simple structures, looking at this village, this is the Kagbeni village. And when you look at this image, you have the river, you have a small community, and you have farming around it. I think these are three pillars to sustainability, about how you live with water, with farming, with a community. And as you go higher up, you see these little chortens that you go through, prayer wheels that you kind of, roll and experience this, kind of lifestyle which is completely alien now in urban culture. And every place, whether it's up in the mountains or whether it's in the city, it's because of your priorities, whether you want to be economically strong or spiritually connected, or, what are your priority. So for me, I think Spirit of the Himalayas is about certain sacred qualities of, your existence. We have a lot of monks and a lot of yogis who went to the Himalayas and found wisdom, literally doing nothing, but observing life and having a challenging time. So, for example, this is a view in front of the project that, we've been working on. So when you have a view, this is the, Annapurna 8,000 meter peak in front of you. There is a Milarappa a very well-known Tibetan monk who meditated in a cave. And it's just that these places touch you without saying too much. It silently tells you what are your values in life. So I went in one of my site visits. I went on a trek to the lake. I said, let's see the source of water. And you walk through this, and you climb here, and then you go down like this, and you go up. So just the experience of walking in this kind of slopes makes you very aware, makes you very, very conscious of the dangers that lie, if you are not aware of what you're doing. And that is so important in life, is that, you get into this kind of culture of just doing more and more and not realizing the danger of, what it does to you in terms of your health, in terms of family, in terms of, so many valuable things. So when I reached the lake, that's me, flat, tired, listening to these big ice that kind of melts, that is melting in this lake, and small streams start. And these little streams kind of gain weight and force, and it becomes the big rivers that connect to the Ganges and to, all the sacred rivers that finally meet the ocean. Another poetry. In one of the lakes, I just stood there looking at the lake, and I just forgot who I am or what I am. And, this was 3-4 lines that I'd written, that we all have places where there is no memory of the past or the future. Complete presence and present. These are your sacred energy places. Cherish them. So this is in connection with, when you're doing something that you really love, or you're drawing or listening to good music, and you forget your name or you forget yourself, you suddenly get another type of energy. And when you are in these sacred places, you forget yourself just at the colors or the kind of, the way the lake sits. It's difficult to describe. Moving on to a project I'd worked on many years ago as a project in charge, but it's also a very special project. It's called the Dwarikas Project. And this project is also, one of my uncles started collecting all these old windows, and suddenly he had 200-300, original windows. And my sister, who is married to someone in Germany, she used to shuttle between Germany and Kathmandu, and they realized that maybe they should do a heritage hotel. And at that time, I just finished my architecture, and I was working in different firms, but she roped me in to work on this project. And initially, they used to live in this house, but then we decided to do this L-shaped structure, so that this is the main road where, there's a lot of vehicles and all happening. But by doing this L-shaped structure, we could have, 2 courtyards, one here and one here. But the first exercise that I did or helped with was really to take an inventory of what you have. And so there are these 3-face windows, 1-face windows, pillars, tikizias. Some of these windows weigh over 1 ton in terms of weight. And the kind of, craft that is involved to put it together. I've been to Japan and seen these huge, monasteries there. But in Nepal, in our region, we have these kind of historical pieces that people valued. So we made an inventory of the entire collection. These are the ABCDs for the architecture that kind of went across. Then we went around the valley studying these World Heritage sites, and there is a certain music or a rhythm to it, whether it's a big window and a small window, or there are certain windows that are placed in line. So studying that, we said, let's try to emulate something that resonates Nepali structure and architecture. So this is Dwarika Das, that's him. And this is me long time back in the workshop trying to, make sense of all the pieces that they had and try to kind of give it a new life. So finally, the spaces look like this, all from the elements. There is a certain kind of quality of traditional architecture, but done in a new building that kind of breeds out a certain order. And in fact, this particular project though we had a Maoist insurgency, we've had political problems, but everyone wants to stay in this place because there is a strong connection of Nepal, and the scale of it. And I think that is so important. When I mean identities, how do you take what you have and lift it up so that you feel connected with a larger audience? Back and forth, this is one of my first projects I did up in the mountains. So I think my journey started with landing on this little airstrip, which is kind of sloping upwards. So when you this is our Disneyland. When you arrive in a plane and you're like, flying with the wind, and when you land, and it is uphill, and then you take a turn and you see you've arrived. So your adventure begins right there. But when you take off, you're going downhill, and the plane better take off. So, it's a start of like when I first went there with my client, I was like, shivering. But then now I've done many planes, and it's part of the journey up in the mountains. So as you walk along and you see these blue skies, and your phone starts disconnecting, and you just start looking at whatever's around you, it makes you a better person. So my first project was next to this hill. When you're climbing up in Everest, you go down to this river called Dudh Koshi. It's like milk because of all the rocks that it kind of, the water thrashes under and looks white, so they call it Dudh Koshi. So Dudh is supposed to be milk. So in this place, my client wanted to build a small resort. So we had this old house, which looked okay from the outside, but inside was it was falling apart. So we reused all the stone and did this project, which looked something like this. But this was, I'd done this 25 years back, or 20 years back. And unfortunately, there was an incident in which the inverter, because it was all wood, it caught on, one part of it caught on fire. The dining block caught on fire, this one. And then I got an opportunity to rebuild it. And my experience in the mountain is kind of, like initially when you do a project, you want it to, something to stand out, certain things. But when I was asked to rebuild it, this block now is just one floor. And I think I would like to not even that one floor to be seen, when I build now. But it's a challenge, you have to build something. So this dining space now is that you enter this space, and then suddenly you see this, warmer place. And then there was a certain kind of gradient, and as you go inside it, you suddenly arrive at the dining space. So I was there a month back, and there was a group of French, mountain climbers. They were having a meal. I was sitting in the corner, and they were enjoying their climb and their meal, and they were saying that this is the best dining space in the whole Himalayan trek that they have. And as architects, for us, that's a you can be sitting quietly and seeing how a person uses the space, and kind of, you recall all the steps that you went through where you're trying to make a big building, but now you were trying to do a building that looked less seen from the outside, but internally it just feels warm. And I think that's the kind of architecture that I'd like to promote up in the mountains, that where you're almost not seen. How do you minimize your interventions, but from the inside it should have all the facilities and the warmth. The other project is a small project, but a very meaningful one in my career, is that the US Embassy in Nepal built a huge embassy when, we had this crisis of Maoist insurgency and, China, India, Nepal, all kinds of things happening. And the American embassy built this huge embassy, which, they have a certain standard in terms of security, in terms of how they build it. But then the ambassador felt that there was nothing Nepali inside it. So she floated a competition that on Memorial Day, which is May 1st, there needs to be a space that they can just be around and reflect. So there was a design competition. And at that time, I remember just doing this one drawing, my usual poetry about something, which says remembrance, recollection, respect. But this was a reflection of a quarry that I'd visited a long time back in Nepal, where they used to make marble. So you take these huge boulders and make these cuts, and then you have marble. And I was thinking that maybe this memorial could just be a landscaping element, which looks like a rock when you come in, but it's just these small slices. And I'd done this one drawing and made a small model, which is the size of my hand, with these, rocks placed. And I said, let's give it in. I had fun with it. And then I got a call saying that, your design's been selected, will you make it? So now it stands there as a landscaping element. And at that time, for someone to perceive not a big structure but a landscaping element, there was quite a kind of thing that, oh, this landscaping element is there in the US Embassy. So I got a lot of focus on this project, which was done, just one drawing and one poetry and a few images. And I share this with students where they think that doing more drawings or more details is something that will impress. Sometimes the concept needs to be clear. The feeling needs to kind of be, establish itself. This is another project which I would like to share is that, Mount Everest was conquered in 1953 by Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay. But unfortunately, Tenzing Norgay migrated to India and stays in Darjeeling. And there is nothing that commemorates his kind of, climb in Nepal. So his son, I was in school with him, and he said that I want to do this little place in Namche Bazaar where you have Tenzing Norgay as a reflection point. So I'd just done, again, a pro bono sketch of maybe a sculpture of him and a few rocks that kind of glide, and we built this. And suddenly what happened is that in the whole trek, the first time you see Everest from Namche Bazaar is this spot. This is Mount Everest and Amadablam, and so we had these few kind of climb. So suddenly it became a place like a pilgrimage site for all tourists to come here, take a picture, selfie with with Tenzing Norgay, and suddenly you had a lot of people coming in. So then after this, there was this visitor center that is there, which was a government building, just kind of had posters inside, but underused. So then Jamling, Tenzing's son, said, can we do something with this building, which is underused? So I went and had a look. It had a kind of dark entrance, and as soon as you went in, you felt cold. And this learning of like warmth up in the mountains is very important. And the Tenzing Norgay statue was placed somewhere on this side. So what I suggested, on the other side where the statue was, this was kind of a nice glazing area, and the statue is right over here in the front. So after studying the building, measuring it up, I thought we need a warm entrance or some connection with, the statue of Tenzing Norgay. So this is the place that you enter. This is the dark corner. I thought it would be nice to put the auditorium there because people up there take photographs, they have all kind of adventure stories. If there was an auditorium in that whole area, it would have like, a space like this, there would be interaction. So, and then I changed the entrance to this area so it is connected with the mountains and with this little statue. So then we built this, and it has just changed the dynamics of a building which was kind of underused. Now we have an auditorium, this is the entrance area, and suddenly the last 1 month back when I was there, they had 600 visitors a day coming from all the, trekking trails. So these facilities which the government builds, which is of good intention, but without proper kind of, focus on how it can be utilized, it can give new life to it. So I learned from this project that, one project you do pro bono, then you redesign this old building and it has new life. And now we're doing a whole Sherpa memorial, a memorial where all the Sherpa people who kind of work with the climbers, who are the backbone of expeditions, are really anonymous. So now we're working on this memorial garden, and then a small little cafe that comes at the end of it. There is an existing building, which it's underused at the moment. So we have changed its roof, and we want a space to have a small climbing wall and have a space in which you can have a cup of coffee and look at the mountains. And yes, when you walk up in the mountains and you are in solitude, just snow around you, I think a lot of wisdom comes in, at least for me. I felt I recalibrated myself in terms of, what I'm doing, why am I doing, Is it too much? Is it, too little? You question these basic things. So another small project in Namche Bazaar, with the memorial, we went and we were kind of working on this memorial, and we were staying in this lodge. And this lodge, this old block was internally, it had a lot of crack lines after the earthquake. So the owner over dinner said, can you do something to this lodge that is falling apart? And that's how projects happen in the mountains, that you're sitting by the fire having a small drink and warming yourself, and the owner says, maybe like a doctor, you ask the doctor, I have a pain here. So this person said, can you do something to this? So we worked on the design, and we realized that it was just a linear building, but if you could kind of give a little bit of life in terms of the view that it faced or a certain entrance experience that we had. And so the final design is something like this, where you have all the windows facing the mountains, which earlier it wasn't, and you have an entrance which is a little bit more interesting. And this is also just been finalized. I'm just showing you something very fresh. After almost a month of just working on this very simple design, it's getting built. And finally, I'd also like to share that, there was this Baha'i house of worship that was being built in Nepal. There's a big one in New Delhi, the Lotus Temple. And so in Nepal also we have a community that believes in the Baha'i faith. And so there was a competition to design this, Baha'i house of worship. So what we did was, I think, this is not even, 1 month young of us winning the competition. But I'd like to share my journey of up in the mountains, the random stuff of walking in the river, collecting these fossils. In fact, this fossil has been our inspiration to this roof form that kind of connects with the Baha'i faith, where you just walk into a space, but there are no idols, there are no gods. It's just the space that you walk into. So this was sharing you the fresh design that is there. We're presently making a model of it, and the unveiling ceremony of it is in a couple of days. But the process of, I feel that a temple is never alone. Again, poetry. It springs out of the landscape of universal understanding and learnings to connect us back to cosmos. Like a clear voice with a ripple emerging the landscape is conceptualized with this echo and circles of energy and vibration to eternity. So this was a design concept where we said it would kind of emerge like this with a few words and few drawings. And finally, we're working on this design a little bit more in terms of how this temple would radiate and echo, the spiritual quality. And I must say that, all my experiences, I've done a lot of monasteries and memorials and, this kind of design. It's the way you think also draws the kind of project you do in life. It's not just about any other project that comes to you. The kind of thinking that you have draws you into, stuff that you want to do. So finally, in terms of the vision for Nepal, is definitely that I see my country as a living landscape museum. I see it as a place where institutions about how we should connect with nature and the Himalayan region should be kind of discussed and solutions for it to be found. There is a lot of special farming that can be done in this very, pristine places. And about really how to build less and sensitively, how to connect with natural materials that merge with the built environment. And finally, I would look at my projects as something that would kind of echo sacred values that are genuine, caring, and integrated with nature. So this is a small video. I've been talking too much, so take you through a drone up in the mountains. Volume. So these are all the villages and places that I've been to. So you're getting a drone helicopter ride. So finally, I think architecture is also about being genuine. How can you care for the planet, for your community, for your surrounding? How can you share your experiences? And how can you connect with nature? And wherever you are, I think nature is there. You know, maybe you've built something on it, but the unique identity that we all have, whether it's Malaysian or Nepalese or Indians or, you know, I think there is a certain thing that calls out for you to observe how this planet is moving. And there was this beautiful quote which I like, that the human body can only do so much, then the heart and spirit must take over. And when the heart and spirit connect, inspiration and good design overflows.
Finally, at the top of...
So this is also, I started climbing mountains after I started practicing yoga and being in the mountains. So this is in a place called Island Peak. And I think I would never have attempted to climb mountains if I hadn't gone deeper into these places. These are all, you know, 8,000 meter peaks around. So the phone started working at the top because there are no disturbances. And this is Everest, Lhotse. And I called my mother and she said, congratulations. And, you know, son, you've like, you know, none of our members of the family have ever gone to this place. Then my wife took the phone and no congratulations, said, when are you back? So anyway, that's life. But yes, when I go up and I see these young children, and I think the question about, you know, Nepal or any place is also about the next generation. Can we retain the smile, you know, these children have? And the more I travel, the more childlike I become, the more playful I become, and less of an architect, but perhaps doing more work that is more meaningful. And I'm just sharing this image with you, is that long time back in Jaipur with Adrianta, I'd met P.V. Doshi. He was the keynote lecture, he was giving the keynote speech that day, and I had bought his book, and I'd gone to him to sign it, and he said, where are you from? So I said, Nepal. He said, what do you do? I said, I'm doing projects in the mountain, but small projects. He said, tell me more about it. So I had a poetry in my phone, and I shared it with him, and he said, chalo, meaning in Hindi, he said that to his daughter, iska number le ro, take his number and invite him to Sangat. And so I'd given a lecture in his studio just about Nepal and the mountains and spirituality. And I think that's where if you get connected to your place at a deeper level, it's not about just, you know, architecture, it's about the way you live, the way you experience. And I think this is so important that we connect deeply with our place. And we look at our life as something that we work for to really balance our life. But the more I come to this city, I see this kind of, you know, friction to really do more and, you know, excess. Like climbing up in the mountain, you have one glass of water in which hot water they give you, and you dip your towel and, you know, you brush your teeth, and with that towel you wipe your body, one glass of water. And here we're talking about showers and, you know, all these things. And then when you take steps up in the mountain, you need to do it in complete kind of slowly, you know, and deeply. You have to breathe deeply. That's how you don't get tired. You don't race against anyone. So these lessons for me quietly up in the mountains have taught me that if you want to do something, go slow. Think about it, discuss it, be sure of it, take the next step, and then before you know, you're in the summit. So I've met a lot of interesting people due to the kind of sensibilities I strive for. This is Fumiko Maki in Japan. When I met him, he said, you know, through Christopher Bedinger, it said that will half an hour be enough for you when I first met him. And then I spent 2 hours with him in his, you know, studio. He was doing all these big buildings all over the world. But then I think everyone has this spiritual side. It's just a matter of time. As you age, these questions come. Who are you? What are you? What is your real values? And I think for me, it has happened, you know, I've become almost like a monk. My wife says, why aren't you working more? But then we've been winning competitions. We've been getting projects that I care for. And finally, I'd like to end it with another poetry. I've realized wherever you are or whatever you do, it is because of your dreams, desire, and karma. it is never without these ingredients of deep intention, life unfolds, but you have a choice for creativity always. Thank you.
Please have a seat. Okay, thank you, Architect Sarosh Pradhan, for the. I think many of us, I think many of us is the first time seeing, this kind of architecture, Nepal, etc. Okay, now I think we will have a Q&A session. Today is very early, so good guys. If you have any question, please scan and you can type your question there and we will ask our beloved speaker here. This is your once in a lifetime to ask any tips for climbing, jungle, mountain trekking, etc. Okay, while we wait for the questions to come up, maybe I can start the Q&A
Sure.
session, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So you have sorry.
Hello. Hello.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Architect Sarosh, you have spoken a lot on the place and how it influenced your, upbringing and stuff like this. So maybe you can walk us through like each time you get a project, how do you find inspiration? Do you start with a poetry first, or meditate to think about it, and then you start to work on the project?
I think just looking at the project a little bit deeply, walking around, drawing, sketching, a few words that surface come up to my mind, just throw it, do some watercolors. It's very simple, but it's stuff that, now that we're on computers, we do less. We think the computer or AI generated images would give you the solution, but it's really, you need to be connected at some level of your experience, of your awareness. And for me, it's, why I shared with you how I used to draw, sketch, do this or that, my exploration as a human being. I think each one of us should take care of your health. I think there's no compromise on that. And when we are working professionally or, in something, we forget all about that. And we get reminded later on in our years. But for me, I think that is a priority. I tell my people, you should sleep well. When people come to my office and I see that, they've been on the computer too late, I said, maybe you deserve some rest, and I want to see you fresh. And I think that's the way, like even in college days, I remember that, sleepless night meant you were doing something. But now my whole perspective of life has changed. So that starts getting cold, dark, go to sleep.
What a privilege. So everyone please take note on this. Okay, speaking about education, I think there's a question here, I think quite interested in your background. The speaker does not sound like a Nepalese. Tell us a bit about your upbringing and education.
Okay, so this question must be someone who knows Nepal. Who's this? Yes, I have been fortunate and had the opportunity to travel all around. My family has been such that my mother was from India and my father's from Nepal, but they lived in China for several years and they traveled around. So that has, and my father was a teacher, so he ensured that I have good communication skills. And so I think, when you look at Nepalese, you think they're just Gurkhas and brave and they can't talk. But, well, you have a Nepali who can talk. And I think I've realized, like when I studied architecture in New Delhi, first year it was terror for me because, Indians speak too much and too fast. And I remember studying in Delhi school and I had to present on something, on concrete or something like that. And so I went up and done my preparation, but when I saw so many eyes, I could not speak. And I told the teacher that this is my work, but too many eyes looking at me, I can't speak. But then, that was my first year. In my fourth year, I became the student council president. And I learned to communicate. And if there was, the only thing that I learned while studying architecture was to do something and to be able to share it and to be able to talk about it and to be able to discuss it. And I think communication is something very, very important. whether it's your client or whether it's your children or whether it's your whether it's your partner, if you communicate with a certain kind of clarity, there is peace. If there are stuff that you don't say but you kind of, show with your expression, it kind of aggravates. So I think Nepali or not Nepali, no matter who you are, you must be able to connect with who you are in front of. Like today I'm here, and as a Nepali, I've spoken my heart out. I've spoken how I've lived my life and what I value. And I think that's education basically means you have the ability to connect with a larger dimension in life and learn from, right? So it's not a question of being Nepali or being a non-Nepali or being a Malaysian, but it's having that clarity to kind of share.
Sounds good. Wow, what a well answered answer. Okay, I think you have done like many monasteries and temples. I think many of us don't get a chance to do that here. So, what else is left for you to achieve? As in, what's your dream project that you would one day like to take on? Now that you have done so many monasteries.
I ask myself this, and I've written down that you have all these goals in life, and my goal is to maybe do 3 or 4 projects that are very meaningful. That's it. And I think sometimes when you say that I want to be superstar or super this or that, I think you create a heaviness in you. But when you say you just do less and you do meaningfully and that's it, you just give yourself the flexibility to go deeper in the few things that you do. And the challenge, of course, in this day and age when your emails and communication is kind of overpowering, there is a certain kind of understanding you need to have yourself on how do you draw the barriers. So I think that's something which I struggle with and we all struggle with. But yes, with my daughter, I've sat down and written 1 page in which I've said that what is it that's most valuable to you? And I think 20 years when I was sitting with my daughter, I said I have to take care of my health, right? And that was a priority which I made a long time back with my children. And now my daughter is a yoga instructor. She sings and she plays, music, and I jam with her. And I'm also in an age where I feel that I'm like a child. And I think we all grow old, but how do we grow gracefully with whatever we're doing? I think that's some of my goals in life, not architecture.
Go beyond architecture, guys. Okay, moving on. Sorry, there's a lot of architecture questions, so you just have to do. I think moving from monastery to like luxury or hospitalities, then which is more humbling and genuine as compared to some of the work that you have done. So how do you balance these kind of in your design, whether there's a upscale hospitality and not a more humble approach design?
I think good design or luxury is when you give the person who comes in space and time to look at things. You're not creating a huge kind of confusion or there is not too much happening. But luxury in this day and age, like a few projects that I've been, is really kind of thinking where you live, how you live, and bringing that feeling of you're in Nepal, you're in Kathmandu, you're in a place where there is a certain culture and craft. You do that in a very deep way. You don't need to speak. You just feel kind of a place that is connected to this culture that emerged over like 500-600 years. This is a culture which kind of flourished before places like America was even formed. You have these places in our region, in Nepal, India, China, where there are timeless ways of looking at, space. So I think luxury is to be able to take the viewer and calm him down in this chaotic world and make him look at things and question his life. I think that's luxury, that if you come into a property and you find yourself that I should be a better person, I should take care of myself, I should take care of my family, I should take care, and he goes out of this property feeling that, I think that's a big luxury that we can educate anyone who comes into our building.
Okay, I think we'll move to a slightly more technical aspect. I guess because you construct some of or most of the buildings in the mountain area and stuff like this. So how is it important to engage a local builder? And have you encountered any interesting unconventional methods of construction?
Well, absolutely. I think the project right in the beginning, I showed you where it was just one line. It was a resort we had to do. We had a certain time frame. It's not that everything is timeless. So sometimes the local people are very lazy, right? And they take for granted that they'll get their pay, they can get away with it. So we had, in the project, we realized the project was going slow. The local guys who we wanted to employ, they were kind of working a little, on their own. So we got these Indian guys to come with jackets and all, and we divided into red jacket and blue jacket. Suddenly when someone else, the blue jackets, the Indians came and were working fast, these red jackets felt encroached upon. They felt that, my God, these guys are working so fast, we're local people, we should be doing more. So this competitive kind of, structure, when you come from another culture, you want to prove yourself. But when you're from the local culture, you think, ho jayega. We will get our pay, we'll get away with it, right? So you need this little bit of discipline and competition, healthy competition. And so many projects, we start with the intention we'll have all the local stuff, but then at the right place, if you have a right consultant or a right mentor who kind of takes the project in a good way, it really helps. So it's not just about being local in the complete sense. It's about cross-border pollination of good ideas and good practices. Yeah.
Very interesting. I think the next question is a bit where it's a flip of a coin. If there was something you would do differently, whether in life or in a project, what would you have done? Any regrets?
Well, I think as architects, we're all polluters. We kind of hide under the umbrella that we're doing green architecture, this, that, but then when you construct a building, you're displacing Mother Nature. That's the basic foundation of our profession. You have to accept that. So having, worked for 30 years, every day I feel less of an architect. I want to cycle more, climb mountains more. But then, when projects like the Baha'i House of Worship or, a monastery where people are silently going there to be better person. I've had Rinpoches, Tibetan masters, come to my place. And, small projects suddenly become very large. And I had a Tibetan master who came to me. We were doing this nunnery. And so he looked at me and he said, Sarosh, you look very fit. What's your secret? So I said, I go to the mountains and I'm learning to tune myself and, just work out. Then I look at him and I said, Rinpoche, you're a Tibetan master. Why are you so fat? And he says, I sit there, I'm talking all the time and having butter tea. And I said, no, you must be doing push-ups. So I've had Tibetan Rinpoche come to my office and I've made him do push-ups. He's literally doing push-ups. And I think that's the level of clarity. If you want to do something, you have to go through the pains. You can't have a pill, right? So when I've started experiencing these changes in my life, it's because I've valued it and I've worked for it, right? And it gives you a result many, many years down the line. And I would urge everyone to kind of look at life from that perspective. In an urban environment, you don't get this luxury to kind of relook at your life and say, what is valuable to me? Good health? Or, working from, odd hours and breaking your head and you're not knowing what you're doing in life. So this moment came to me. And it was my Buddha moment. It was my moment where I said that architecture needs to take a second tire and I just take care of myself. And I started getting up early, trying to meditate, trying to find a little bit of order. And for a couple of years, my family thought I was going crazy. This guy is getting up early, climbing the hill. Kya ho gaya? Isko. But then after I transformed, after I got that clarity of the few things that I was doing, I started enjoying life and said, why not try to climb a mountain? Let's see what it does. And I've got a lot of friends and, it is dangerous to climb a mountain, but then that level of awareness, when you have so much of danger around you, it just makes you present. It makes you appreciate things that you take for granted. You don't even notice your breath when you're sitting, in a comfortable environment. But up there, when you're taking a deep breath, when you're tired, you just have so much of that you're alive, right? And that feeling is very intoxicating. That when you're alive, what is it that you want to do that gives you a high, which is more valuable? So it's just to live life being present. And I think all these different gurus basically teach you that as to how to really be connected with your awareness to whatever you're doing.
Okay, so everyone, please take note. You can start implementing a push-up routine in your office. Okay, I think this is for the younger architects who are very interested to know that regarding how do you suggest the young architects to practice holistic architecture, and also how do you balance architecture with financial considerations?
I think very important question. I think, I would start, like I've echoed in my presentation, is start with yourself. How can you make a discipline to improve yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally? That should be a priority. And if you can do that, you will produce better architecture. It does not need to be more architecture. It can be less architecture. But how much do you really need? If you do 2 or 3 good projects and live a simple life, I think, it's not that I have got huge skyscrapers or anything. It's just these small projects that I have. But then I've learned to be happy with, what I value. And people also, because I'm a person like this who practices yoga, who does things slowly, who takes time, that kind of client comes to you. So like I'm doing the Baha'i temple, and I said that we'll do it well. So they said, you take your time, we'll have a broad outline, but till you're not satisfied, how can you get a client like that, right? But I've realized that if you deeply work, it happens to you. I never thought I would get clients like this, but yeah, I think take care of yourself, number one. Number 2 is have a time, you have 24 hours, or if you live a certain time, it's number of days are kind of limited. But how do you want to balance your sleep time and your work time and your family time? Very simple. But how can you kind of really do that? That has a tangible result. It's something all of us have to work on. Yeah? And I remember listening to B.V. Doshi. I've got an opportunity to interact with him. And he comes to the office after his meditation and all of that. A long morning, he comes to his office, sits for 3-4 hours, works deeply, then he vanishes. But then he produces work which has a certain resonance with the community. So it doesn't mean sitting 9 to 5, you're producing great work. Sometimes it could be 1 hour of very deep work. So, but how do you do that? And I think it's a language. The more you strive for it, the more you seek for it, it comes closer to you. But it's always a receding thing. As you age, it becomes more challenging, but nevertheless, you should try for something that is more valuable than immediate.
Thank you so much. I think this is, we have 2 final questions. Maybe this is a bit of a fun fact for the yogis here. How long did it take for you to elbow stand without relying on walls supporting you?
Yeah, the elbow stand is a little bit difficult because, we always look at our hands and the leg as something that is at the end of our body, right? You're standing and you're holding. But then when you are on your elbow, the way I worked on it was that, physics is that you have your hand down and the center of balance is really between your hands, right? Over here in the center. So when you look at a problem, you have to use your mind and visualize it. As architects, we visualize the problem. And when you look at a problem that you cannot do, for example, in yoga, just visualize it, that what is it that you have to put your energy on and balance. And when you have a large plane, so that's what I do, is that I visualize it, where you close my eyes and say, as if I could do it. I may not be able to do it, but you should look at it and just think about, for me, that is meditation. It's not about just keeping quiet and silencing your mind. It's about what you want to do in life. If it comes up, you look at it, till you get some kind of a aha moment, right? And for me, that has been the way I look at a problem, is that you just look at it, you kind of talk to people, you keep looking at it, and then being quiet and reflecting it, and then actually doing it and falling. I've had lots of sprains. You know, you should also, when you are seeking something, there will be pain. You will not be able to do it immediately, but you should also factor that in, that there will be failures in your, as you proceed. But also the conviction that one day you'll do it. So when I did it before my daughters, you know, and they see that, oh, Papa can do it, no, like I should catch up with, you know, him. And that's how my younger daughter's become a yoga instructor, yeah.
One last question. We'll swing it back to architecture a bit. This is more technical. How does your design address the issues of water supply, water freezing, and sewage system in a high altitude mountain area?
Oh, that is a very, very important question, because that's always a challenge, because it's such a cold climate. And when we have the plumbing system, which kind of freezes and breaks, you know, there are all kinds of you know, you need to factor in how you insulate it. When the property is not being used, how do you remove all the water, and, you know, you remove chances of it kind of, you know, freezing inside, or having this, you know, system in which the water is circulating. So there are many, many challenges up in the mountain. In fact, up in the mountains, they say that the Himalayas are the biggest, you know, because people go there and all the waste is kind of frozen over there. So now the government has made a thing that if you climb mountains, you have to bring your shit back. They'll weigh it, and you know, so it's you know, when you have a sacred environment, it's a challenge. There's no, I wouldn't want to kind of, you know, put any flourishing words around it, but it's a challenge. But you do it as best as you can do it. Yeah.
Okay, so some tips for you if you're designing on a high altitude area. Okay, I think with that, we have no further questions, and we would like to express our sincere